Perfect. All right. Well, good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight for our second public meeting for KC Water upgrades on the Plaza water main replacement project. This one is specific to the Ward Parkway and 49th Street area east of Warnell. And so we'll be talking about the project overall, but also that your area specifically this evening. Just want to say we appreciate your patience, as we know that this isn't a typical method for public meetings, but it has become our new norm at this time. And so we really appreciate you, taking your time, signing on, watching this video, engaging with our project team, and really understanding what the work and improvements are going on in your area. I'd also like just to add for this evening, with the potential of intermittent outages in the area, if we should get disconnected this evening, our team will reconvene and record the meeting for posting to the KC Water webpage located on the current projects section of their webpage. So with that, I'll get started. My name is Shelby Ferguson, and I will be leading the public engagement effort for this project. We've been working closely with Kansas City Water and Leith & Sons to ensure that we have a streamlined engagement process and members of the public are up to date and aware of the work taking place in their area. With that, I will just introduce a few members of our project team that will be speaking this evening. We do have many others on our project team that are an integral part of this project, but we wouldn't be able to list them all. And there's many of them. So just for those that will be speaking this evening, I'd like to go ahead and mention on our slide, we have Melanie Jolett, and she is the Water Distribution Division Manager for KC Water. Terry Thomas, he's our project manager for the upgrades on the Plaza project. And then Dave Oshel, who is with Leith & Sons, and he's our project contractor. And so before we get started, I'd just like to walk through a few logistics for Zoom if you've never been on before. Just that we ask that you remain muted throughout the presentation portion of the meeting, as this does help reduce noise and interference with the rest of the participants. And you can do that by just locating at the bottom left-hand corner of your toolbar in the Zoom function. You can hit that microphone and that will mute and unmute. For anyone who is joining us by phone, I'll get into that a little bit more on the next slide, just of how you can work through that for muting and unmuting. We also would like you to know that there is the ability to use the chat function should you have any technical issues throughout the meeting or have questions that arise while the presentation is going on. Feel free to just type into that chat box and someone from our team will assist you. And then just to let you know, going back to, if you are on a phone, you can mute and unmute by using *6. And then if you'd like to raise your hand, just if you have a question or you'd like to speak, you can do so by hitting *9, and someone on our project team will see that and will be able to address any questions that you may have. Also, we are recording this meeting. That will then be later posted to the KC Water website after the conclusion of it. And then also, let's see, if you do have any questions following the meeting still, please do contact the project manager, and his contact information will be located at the end of this presentation. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Melanie, and she will give you, get us started with an overview of KC Water.
Great, thanks Shelby. Good evening everybody, I'm Melanie Jolett. I'm the Water Distribution Division Head for Kansas City Water. So I just want to give a quick background on basically what water services is, what we provide to the city, and then a general overview of our water main replacement program. So on this slide, you can see our main source of water is the Missouri River. And so we do pull surface water from the Missouri River and we treat it And that is what the KC metro area is consuming as their potable water. Next slide. Next slide, Shelby.
Just one second.
Oh, no worries.
There we go. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Perfect. So Kansas City Water is really a 3-utility provider. As I mentioned, we do provide potable water, which is our distribution system. We also provide wastewater, so we collect wastewater and treat that as well. And then we also have stormwater collection that we collect as well. So when you see manholes with water services on there, it's probably typically a wastewater or stormwater manhole throughout the system. Those are typically gravity systems, and then our water system is the pressurized system that delivers to all of our customers. Next slide. The next slide, yep, this will go into kind of our assets. So of the 3 utilities that we provide, the 3 services that we provide, on the water side, on the potable water side, we have 1 water treatment plant, we have 18 pump stations, 2,800 miles of water main, 35,000 valves, and 23,000 fire hydrants. So that really comprises the water distribution system. On the wastewater collection system, we have 6 wastewater treatment plants, 39 pump stations, 2,800 miles of sewer main, and 67,000 manholes. And that makes up our wastewater collection system. On the stormwater side, we have 630 miles of storm sewer, 53,000 storm inlets, 15 stormwater pump stations, and 13.5 miles of levee. So that's what makes up the stormwater system that Kansas City Water manages on the stormwater side. Next slide. So really, I just want to give a brief overview of our water main replacement program, since this project that we're going to be discussing tonight is a part of this water main replacement program. So as I mentioned, we have more than 2,800 miles of drinking water infrastructure. And some of those pipes date back to the late 1800s and consist of older materials, cast iron pipe, other older materials. This is the older materials and the aging water mains, typically lead to a lot of breaks, the aging infrastructure. This is a nationwide challenge that most utilities are facing with their older infrastructure. And so about 7 years ago, Kansas City Water implemented this water main replacement program. And the goal is to replace 1% of our distribution system per year. And that equates to about 28 miles of distribution system is replaced every year. And so since the start of the program 7 years ago, we replaced more than 200 miles. So this summer in July, we replaced our 200th mile in the program. So we've since installed more pipes since then, but we are at 200 plus miles since the inception of this program. Next slide. So how do we choose which mains we're going to replace and throughout the city? So basically what we do, we have developed this really data-driven asset management method to evaluate our water mains and to establish risks to them. So we recently, Kansas City Water recently purchased a software called Info Asset Planner, and it's a software that works with our GIS system, and we're able to evaluate through this software the probability, the likelihood and consequence of failure. And so that will create a risk profile for each main. So what we do is we run all the pipes through this program, taking out the recently replaced ones, and we calculate a risk for that pipe. The highest risk pipes for the first 28 miles each year. This is done annually, every fiscal year. The first 28 miles, those are identified as the high risk mains, and those are developed into projects. We also are able to coordinate with other projects ongoing, so pavement projects or sewer projects, other projects at the city, and so we can actually tag on areas geographically to make sure that we're only disturbing one area in the city at a time for these multiple projects. The new projects, we design all of our new water mains to be zinc-coated ductile iron pipe. This means that they have about 100-year design life. And so the idea is in 100 years, then the new pipe should last 100 years. And then we will have replaced all of our aging infrastructure in this water main replacement program. And then we can start evaluating if we need to renew this program in 100 years. So ultimately what this does, it reduces costs because we're not going to see as many breaks, but it also increases fire protection. So we're able to replace older infrastructure with pipes that might be tuberculated or have buildup in them. And we're also able to replace smaller diameter mains that were once standard practice to install and replace everything with 6-inch and larger. And by doing that, we're increasing capacity for fire protection. So all in all, this is a really good program to not just reduce costs because of maintenance, but also to increase firefighting capabilities. All right. And I think that's my last slide, Shelby. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Terry Thomas, our project manager, and he'll go into details specifically on this project.
Good evening, all. Once again, I am Terry Thomas. I have the privilege of being the project manager for this wonderful project, Upgrades on the Plaza. So just giving a quick call back to our our meeting last week. We covered the State Line Road portion that's going to be kicked off first. And as you can see, we're going to cover from West 51st Street to the north, down to West 55th Street to the south. So just kind of give you an idea of what else we'll be doing on this project. Next slide. Okay, so about this week. So we are replacing just south of Brush Creek, the water main along Ward Parkway, as well from Warnell on over to, it looks like, can't see. Chibby.
Central.
Central, there we go.
For 49th.
And then, yeah, for 49th Street. So both of these will be 8-inch ductile mains that we're installing. One is an upgrade in size. We're replacing a 6-inch with an 8, and then the other is an 8 already. But when you upgrade in size, that definitely helps out the system. It helps out our customers getting a little more flow because our mains have more capacity in them. Same with fire hydrants. We're putting in more fire hydrants here. This is more of a business area, so our spacing's a little tighter here. Currently, there's one hydrant on either end of 49th Street, and on Ward Parkway, there's 3. So we're looking to bump that up to 4 there in order to make sure that we get that fire coverage there. Next slide, please. So once we're done with all those great things on State Line and over across the Brush Creek on Ward Parkway and Warner, we're going to mosey on down to the main section of the plaza. This is kind of the crux of everything. We experience a lot of breaks down here. So we decided that, Melanie alluded to how we come up with our projects yearly. Well, in this case, it's more of a higher profile area, something that we don't want to piecemeal, because doing construction in the plaza can be a headache because we aren't the only ones replacing infrastructure. So we want to get in and get out. So that is how we came up with saying, hey, let's go in and replace all of our aging mains here down in the Country Club Plaza area. And here we are. So you can see we covered pretty much everything from West 46th Street on down to Ward Parkway, just north of Brush Creek, and then from Mill Creek Parkway on over to Jefferson as well. So, I mean, we're going to get it all done. You don't have to worry about seeing us anymore. For water distribution, you got to keep that in mind. You may see some trucks every now and then, but it may not always be for the potable water because we have so many assets. Next slide. So I kind of covered with the size of the mains that we're putting in here. And it's going to be 4,300 linear feet of water main total in this first phase. Leith is going to get into their construction schedule a little after I'm done. But some of the things you can expect is to replace all of our water valves, We have to make sure that those are operable so that we can isolate mains in case of future breaks, which we're going to say is years and years and years down the line. We've got 100 years of life on these mains now. So we're going to make sure that we keep them in tip-top shape. And then we're going to, of course, add more fire hydrants. And our fire department's always happy about that, right? And Dave, if you wouldn't mind going into the schedule, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Terry. Dave Oshel here with Leaf and Sons. Just wanted to let you guys know that we're looking forward to getting this project started and upgrading all the water mains in the Plaza area and on the state line. Right now, the anticipated construction for these 2 line segments, we're looking to get started here February 22nd. Already with the weather that's come up this week, that may be towards the later part of next week. We need to get some snow off the ground so we can get some locates and get some surveying done. But right now we're anticipating starting construction sometime next week, and activity will begin with getting locates and surveying, and then you'll see us out there saw cutting the streets. This part of these line segments here on Ward Parkway and 49th Street are part of phase 1, which is Ward Parkway, 49th Street, and then state line from 51st to 55th. And our anticipated construction is from February here, the 22nd, getting started and completing this first phase here in May. The Ward Parkway, like I said, it's going from, I believe is that 48th Street, West 48th Street? Yes, yeah, West 48th Street along Ward Parkway, which is this Ward Parkway south of Brush Creek, the eastbound Ward Parkway, going over to Baltimore. And then we're also going to be working on West 49th from Warnell over to Central Street. So those are the two of the line segments here on the phase 1. We're going to be working to make sure we keep traffic open and flowing as we progress down through installing these new water mains. You'll also have flaggers out there at times to coordinate keeping traffic going through, and we're going to do our best to get in and get out as quick as we can and get everything restored. So you guys are at some point wanting to know we was there. So the anticipated schedule for the whole water upgrades on the plaza is a completion date of March 2022. So as we get farther along here, we'll be working more in the actual plaza area north of Brush Creek there. So with that being said, pass it on back to Terry here, and you all have a good evening.
All right. So now that we've showed up, what's going to happen? So Dave already kind of gave you a little bit of a rundown on how once the snow is removed from the ground, they can get some utility locates done. That way they can kind of get a preliminary idea of where all the other things are, like gas mains, fiber optic, things of that nature. So that way construction goes a lot more smoothly. Once that's done, they'll do, and in that process, they'll do what they call potholing. Now, potholing is a word that scares many a driver in the Kansas and Missouri area. But they are not creating potholes in the road in order to create a nuisance for you later. What they're doing is they're doing small digs just to see where everything is underground, because a little paint on the ground from locates can only show you so much, right? You got to actually get in there and look. Then once they do that, they'll get to constructing and placing in the new water main and the new trench. And then, if this won't necessarily affect this particular area in terms of driveways and things of that nature, but if that were the case, if you're entering a parking garage in the area or somewhere like that, they are to work quickly to allow ingress and egress through those spaces there. Once they're done doing that, they're going to lay from one end to the other, and they have to test the new main. So you won't see them actually constructing anything for about a week or two. So you'll still see the piles of gravel around, things combed off, and you're wondering, okay, what's going on now? Well, they're waiting for everything to check out with the back T test to make sure that the water is going to be safe once we connect to the old main. About your shuts. So we like to say that there will be 3 guaranteed shuts. The first is when we're connecting the main on one end. The second is when we're transferring the new service from the new main to your business or your home. The third is when we connect the new main to the old main on the opposite end. There's 2 connections on both sides. And then the fourth is the unforeseeable. It's one that we cannot predict. During construction, sometimes these old mains break. There's a lot of heavy banging and digging going around in their vicinity, and you're disturbing the earth around the old mains, so it'll cause them to burst, which is why we're replacing them in the first place, because they've had breaks on them and we've identified them as needing replacement. So that fourth one, you will not be notified because we can't predict it. But those other 3, you'll always be notified ahead of time. For daytime shuts is from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. If in the event we have an overnight, you'll know what time that'll be as well. As far as restoration goes, we follow the Public Works SR1 standard for the roads, and then for curbs and sidewalks, we do everything to standard or better based on their standards as well. Anything disturbed in the green space will be sodded when the weather permits. Otherwise, we will wait when the weather breaks. Of course, we're starting in February, so things would not get done until the springtime. Groundhogs, we got 6 more weeks of winter, so we'll be waiting around for that. So during this construction, it's going to be loud. Large, heavy equipment in the area. You're going to see trucks hauling things in and out all the time. It's going to be dusty. Leith and Sons is going to do their best job to make sure that things are controlled unto that respect. Leith has a lot of experience doing our water main replacements. They've been working on the water main replacement program since its first year. So they're pretty good at doing these things. I've already mentioned about your service interruptions. Definitely want to reiterate that you will be notified the minimum of those 3 times. And if your travel you want to plan out your travel routes during these times while they're constructing, because you may have delays going to and from work, going to the store, picking your children up, whatever it is that you do on your normal routines. You want to plan ahead and make sure that you're adding 15 to 20 minutes to make it through these areas if they're down to 1 lane of traffic. All right, I'm going to turn it back over. Thanks, everyone.
Great, thank you, Terry. So now that we've talked about the work to expect and what areas we'll be working on, how do you keep yourself informed? How do we keep you up to date on what to expect in the area and the construction timeline? So with that, we have established a project hotline, and this hotline is active. It sits on my desk. The purpose of this hotline is to allow you to reach out with any questions you may have about the project or the work that you see going on. That project hotline number, as I said, it sits on my desk. I will monitor it 8 to 5 every day until the end of the project. So if you have any questions regarding what you're seeing, if you need to get in contact with Terry or Dave and you're not sure how to do that, I can do that for you. Anything like that, and I could push additional information forward to them, or I can answer your questions to the best of my ability also, and of course, reach out to the rest of the project team to do so. And so by doing that, you can reach us at 816-206-1318, or you can contact us on the hotline or the project email, which is water.upgrades@kcmo.org. And that also, it will, just like the hotline, will be monitored every day throughout the project duration. And then I can flow any questions to within the project team through that also. Additionally, here on the right of the screen, there in the green box, you'll see this is what the project page looks like. And you can sign up for a weekly construction update. And the way this will work is we just need your email and your first and last name. And from there, you'll get put onto a distribution list where weekly construction updates will go out to anyone on that list by end of day Friday for work that will be happening the following week. So once construction starts here on February 22nd or a little after, those updates will start going out with that. So again, you just go to the project website, which is kcwater.us/upgrades on the Plaza, and go in and just sign up for that weekly construction update. And that'll take care of keeping in the know that way. Other forms of keeping up with the project is just through social media, and those are listed for KC Water, their pages on each of the platforms of Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And so those are also methods that you can get updates periodically of just when something's happening. We'll make sure to push out information through those methods also. We really do encourage you to sign up for that weekly construction update, and any additional updates, like I said, will be found through social media. And then if you have any additional questions, you can always reach out to Terry Thomas, and his contact information is here on this slide. And with that, I will turn it back over to anyone who may have questions. And if we don't have any questions, I would say Terry or Melanie, if we wanted to cover anything that is just a typical question that we hear during these types of projects, we may want to address a few of those. So let me look and see. I don't believe, Gabby, do we have any questions from the public?
We do not.
Okay, thank you.
So Shelby,
with
this
that-
is Melanie. Oh, sorry, Shelby, this is Melanie.
No, I was gonna say, I'll just turn it over.
Okay. So I posted in the chat, I don't know, Terry and Dave, if you guys could maybe elaborate a little bit on the daily cleanup that we'll be doing out at the Plaza, just to give a couple of details on that.
Dave, I don't know if you wanted to handle, but
Yeah,
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I can go ahead and handle that. One thing that we take great pride in here at Leith & Sons is cleaning up after ourselves as we're doing our construction work. We know at times it looks dirty and messy and stuff like that, but we make every effort at the end of the day to have the site cleaned up and backfilled, and do as much of the restoration as we can as we proceed down through these blocks doing these water mains. Another thing that we also like to do is, as we're digging our trenches in the street, we like to get those backfilled and concreted and asphalted up as soon as possible. So that's one thing that we've committed to this project is keeping a good clean site behind us, and not have any piles of debris or gravel or anything like that. So that's just a little added benefit that Leith & Sons provides is making sure that we do have a really good clean job site.
Thanks, Dave. And then one more question that I had, Dave. when we're doing the tie-ins on the water main, are most of these for the businesses? Are they going to be after business hours, or do the businesses need to plan on outages during the day?
Right now, we're going to take those as a case by case basis, but most of these businesses and we've committed to doing a lot of this work, after hours, as far as tie-ins and getting that all done. So to answer that question, I'd say the majority of these tie-ins will be completed at nighttime.
Perfect. Thanks, Dave. Shelby, I didn't have anything else. Terry, I don't know if you had any last minute questions or ideas that you wanted to share. Comments, I guess, that you wanted to share.
I do not. And unfortunately, Terry Lees isn't on tonight. I could get Jeff like I did Terry at the last meeting. So one of the common questions that is asked is, how does this affect my water bill? Melanie kind of got into it a little bit earlier when she said that, it's broken up into three. It's water, your potable water, and then your wastewater, and then your storm water. So when you get your bill, you will see the three charges broken out in that manner. So with replacing all this infrastructure, because we're replacing on the sewer side and water throughout the city, you may wonder, okay, well, how is this going to affect me? So with these projects, it does not directly impact your bill. And what I mean by that is, just because we're in your neighborhood does not mean that you're going to pay more for your water than someone 20 miles to the south of you, or nowhere near where these projects are taking place. You will see periodically an increase in your bill year over year. It may increase just slightly by 1% or 2%. But as far as these projects go, it does not affect your bill. And that's kind of like one of the most commonly asked questions. No one wants to pay more for their showers.
Perfect. Thank
That's
you,
it for
Terry.
me. Thanks, Shelby.
So with that, we can go ahead and wrap up. And like I said at the end of the presentation, if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out through the hotline or directly to Terry Thomas, and we can get your questions answered. So thank you for your time this evening, and we'll see you in the future, hopefully with less water main breaks. So have a great evening.
Thanks,
Thank you all.
everyone. Have a good evening.